Today's show, what were they thinking? Stay with us. We're going to talk about the EEOC. Yeah, we're going to talk about some recent claims with the EEOC. And people who work with me know that I love the phrase, what were they thinking? Because I hear about situations where individuals are making decisions and they are just so convinced that what they're thinking or what they're doing is in the best interests of the employee and the team and the companies. And you have to just laugh sometimes and think, oh my gosh, can you just get out of your own way? Ladies and gentlemen, you know that I sometimes I just get a little passionate about certain things. And individuals who think they have it all figured out, this is exactly why the show's here. As HR representatives, as owners of companies, as managers of companies, you have to see this stuff before it gets too far. You have to know enough about federal and state laws within the employment arena to be able to smell this stuff as it's happening. And I wanted to go over, I spoke at a group here not too long ago, and somebody came up afterwards and they said, we just love the fact that you talk about real world issues. You talk about things that have happened to other companies, and you help us understand we're not alone, but that we also can make some big mistakes. And so that's what we're going to do today on the show. The EEOC sends out notifications to let us know, what's going on and how they've moved on certain decisions and what cases seem to be the most popular. And several of these really caught my eye, and I thought, let's just talk about what's going on. We just had a show here a couple of weeks ago that reviewed the top priorities for the EEOC. Remember, they're right now here in April of 2025. Their two main focuses are on the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, and they're also going to be spending a lot of time and focus on the discrimination on Americans and whites in the workplace and how we tend to favor non-Americans for employment decisions. Well, even though that's their main focus right now, they still have a tremendous amount of claims that they are working through the court systems right now. And here's a couple of them that have just been finalized. This announcement's from April 9th, here just yesterday, actually, 2025. The Heart of Texas Goodwill Industries. And they are being charged with refusing to hire a deaf applicant because of her disability. The EEOC's lawsuit charged that Heart of Texas Goodwill refused to consider an applicant who is deaf for a production team member position at its store in Keeneland, Texas. Now, the EEOC's complaint alleged that a manager told the applicant that she was not eligible for a position because she could not speak or hear, and that those were requirements of the job. The EEOC said that the applicant asked the manager whether she could be accommodated. That's standard, right? Including through the use of a cell phone to communicate. The applicant also allegedly informed the manager that she had worked in an identical position at another Goodwill store. The EEOC said the manager told the applicant she'd talked to the Human Resource Department to see what could be done, but no one ever followed up. And the applicant, well, she didn't get hired for the role. So Goodwill is now required to pay $75,000 on an EEOC disability discrimination lawsuit. Ladies and gentlemen, what should have happened here? What should have happened with an applicant who, in the applicant process, requests an accommodation, confirms and provides evidence that she had already done the job, and then is told that they're going to get back with her, but no one ever does? Do you think this could have been prevented? And Goodwill's nonprofit. Do you think a nonprofit should be paying out $75,000 when that could have been spent on something much better? See, nonprofits aren't protected. Lesson learned. The second one, this one came out today. Wow. This one's a big one. Allen Theaters, which has movie theaters across New Mexico, Arizona, and Colorado, will pay a total of $250,000 to settle an age discrimination lawsuit filed by the EEOC. Now, get this. According to the EEOC lawsuit, Allen Theaters' president forced an employee who had been a theater manager for 31 years in Clovis, New Mexico, to retire in September 2020 because he was 73 years old. The company refused to allow him to work in March of 2021 when the theaters reopened after COVID. According to the lawsuit, the theater president forced the employee who had been a theater manager for 31 years to retire and refused to allow him to work. I mean, come on. We had a podcast on this. I just keep repeating that. They forced him to retire, and there's nothing in here that said anything having to do with his performance had been compromised. The theater even stopped paying his health insurance coverage because he was over 65 years old and eligible for Medicare. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is a good one. If you have anyone over 60 years of age and you've got senior management who's looking at them kind of green and saying, when are they going to be leaving? How soon are they going to retire? You need to show this particular case to them. $250,000. Yeah, I'll bet the president of that company is real happy because it was his decision. And that's, okay. Wow. What was he thinking? This one's a little smaller, though. This is a plant nursery in Baldwin, Maryland. This was posted April 3rd of 2025. The company is Kurt Blumel. They're only going to pay $40,000 due to a pregnancy discrimination suit. Now, let's stop right there. How many of you have heard me say that the pregnant worker is the most protected person in your workplace? It's undeniable. If there's not a state law, there's always going to be a federal law. So what we're reading today is the EEOC's lawsuit that was filed on Kurt Blumel, this nursery. What we don't know is what the plaintiff's attorney did, what her attorney did from a state level. So according to the lawsuit, a pregnant worker who had been employed by the company since 2017 requested maternity leave in September of 2023 with expectations that she'd return to work after giving birth. And when she attempted to return in December of 23, she was told that no work was available. However, the employer hired new non-pregnant employees before and after she attempted to return. I just, hey, anyone over there at Kurt Blumel, would you like to call me? Would you? You obviously didn't call your labor law attorney until after she had filed the suit. You need some help. Okay. This one is a little bit smaller. Reliable Maintenance Solutions. They are located in Georgia. Actually, they've got mine sites all over Georgia. They are charged in, this was posted March 25th of 2025, charged in March 21, Reliable refused to hire an experienced applicant for a heavy equipment operation position because of his disability. The applicant is a right arm amputee with years of work experience operating dump trucks. And he was working as a dump truck operator at the time of his application to Reliable. According to the lawsuit, the company interviewed the applicant for the position and assured him that his status as an amputee would not be an impediment to his hiring. Although the applicant then successfully completed safety training, the lawsuit alleges Reliable claimed at least one of its clients was uncomfortable with an amputee being employed as a heavy equipment operator. So the applicant was not hired. They're going to pay $25,000. The man didn't even have a chance to start working, and he's walking away with $25,000. This is so preventable. You cannot assume when somebody has a good record and when someone proves that they can do the job, they can meet the essential work functions of the job, you cannot, as an employer, as a hiring authority, you cannot assume that their disability is too much for the position. You cannot assume. CPG, Staffing and Executive Personnel Group, made a similar mistake. The EEOC suit alleged that the Staffing and Personnel Agency rescinded a welding applicant's job offer after learning from a post-offer medical questionnaire that he had injured his knee on the job 2 years earlier. Now, before disclosing the prior injury, from which he had completely recovered, the applicant successfully passed a welding test. The welding test involved climbing ladders, crouching, crawling on beams. The applicant indicated he could perform the essential duties of the welder job and did not require reasonable accommodation. He even provided a letter from his physician clearing him to work. Yet, Executive Personnel's risk manager, bingo, instructed the staffing agency not to hire the applicant because of his prior injury. CPG Staffing, in turn, rescinded the applicant's job offer. I wonder if that risk manager who thought he was making a really good, sound decision is going to pay the $60,000 that the EEOC has just awarded the individual. See, this is where I just, what were these people thinking? Did they partner with someone who was familiar and comfortable and well-versed in the law? Did they talk it out? Did they speak to their labor law attorney? Did they speak to an HR consultant? And, you know, when I was doing some research on all of this, I ran across a list of things that in my tenure, in my time as a consultant, things that I have heard said or things that we have had to confront that I want to share with you, because these are huge flags that lead to these kind of fines. And remember, let me go back up. Remember, that's just what they have to pay the candidate or the employee that filed the charge. That does not include legal fees. That does not include maybe even, you might have to pay the other attorney's fees. I don't know what they settled on. It didn't go that far, but understand that's just tip of the iceberg. And what I'm about to give you here is a list of things that I have heard said, and I'm just wondering, and I'm challenging each of you, have you heard anything similar like these statements in your workplace? Number 12. I'll start with 12. Are you enjoying your golden years? What does that sound like? Somebody who's looking to force somebody out on retirement? How about, oh, he looks like a drug dealer. Here's a comment. I supervise the children. Oh gosh, there's an age discrimination claim. How about that's the God Squad or the church lady? How about working with Jews is so hard, they're cheap and they're tight. I actually just heard something similar to that just a couple months ago. Older employees hate change. And I know that these are, that one in particular isn't necessarily intended to be hurtful. But listen to what it said. Older employees hate change. Do you hear a bias in there? How about we need some young people who will stay with the company? I can't hire somebody over 40 because they're only going to be here for, maybe another 10, 20 years. I need those young people. How about we have too many women in this department, which leads literally to too much testosterone or estrogen. Oh my gosh. We can't promote him. He'll be retiring soon. How about maybe you should move to part-time to be available for your children? Oh gosh, grab that supervisor by the back of the neck if you've got them. Remove them quickly. How about he's too slow due to his weight? I didn't write this one down, but I had a gentleman who looked at me and said, "Oh, yeah, we can't put him in that job because he's so obese. He just doesn't move fast enough. I'm afraid he's going to hurt himself." Yeah. How about women shouldn't be in this role? It was meant for men. I understand there's a lot of discussion about men and women and what they can do, but I know of some very, very successful women as firefighters, in the military, and in construction. And those are very demanding positions. Be careful judging. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, sometimes we have people in the wrong positions thinking the wrong things. And this show is just to remind you and give you the tools. We want to equip you here to say, get ready. Because if you've got people in your business, in your company, who are talking and trying to force people out for retirement, who are picking on women because they're pregnant, or upset with somebody because they don't look like everybody else, or you assume that because they aren't like everyone else, they can't do what everyone else does. It's a shame that we have to have, very truthfully, it's a shame we have to have the laws like EEOC to protect people from others who just don't know how to behave in a professional manner. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the world we're in right now. So go back to your jobs, go back to your companies, and start listening a little closer. Save yourself some misery and save your company a lot of money, because the EEOC's out dealing around. They'll catch your suit. So there you go. Thanks for watching and listening. We're glad you're here at the Human Resource